Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the people, the stooges, the flunkies, the bums that the globalists use to do their dirty work. And when I say dirty work, I'm talking about rigging elections, doing scam false flags to try and smear others, to conspire to commit perjury in courts, conspiracy to plant false evidence, conspiracy to withhold evidence that would set somebody free, all these sorts of things, rig police inquiries, district attorneys engaging in all sorts of nefarious activity. The list goes on of these things. So there's a number of people over the years that have, say over the last 5 years, maybe a little longer, say 6 years maybe, that I've looked at, and they've been caught, they've been disgraced, and there's been an element of public disgrace and so on, and they fade from public view. But then you sort of start looking at what happened to them. Surely with a disgrace so serious as that hanging over their heads, they'd have really struggled to find employment. They'd be living on the mean streets because nobody had touched them, and that sort of thing. Now, when you look at, say, folks who don't agree with transgender bathrooms, or they misgender somebody, they can be utterly ruined and crushed. But people that do far worse than this, break a large number of laws, and somehow they're not really held to account. The fact that they barely suffer at all, other than the annoyance of and the inconvenience of getting caught and the immediate sort of fallout from that. They don't really suffer thereafter. They're not living in, say, they're not living in a trailer park out in the middle of nowhere. They've gone straight back into the waterfront property, living in the nice area, and driving the nice car, and having nice annual vacations in five-star vacation resorts and that sort of stuff. So they do rather well, and it's sort of surprised me a bit, because it's quite blatant. I don't know why the media isn't going after this. Why? I mean, this is a huge story. Someone has acted disgracefully, broken laws, multiple laws, multiple laws, done terrible things to other people, and yet now they're living very, very well. They seem to be not suffering at all from this. Why isn't that to me, that would be a headline story. But anyway, this so looking at this now, this guy was a district attorney, and he was a race hustler. So he's a white guy, but he's a race hustler, and so he went ahead and laid charges against some white people when the evidence that he had suggested that they'd committed no crime, and with a very unreliable witness. And then shortly after he laid charges, then more evidence came in that clearly stated that they were not guilty, and that the charges were misplaced. So this guy actually conspires with the fucking police chief to withhold this evidence, to keep it secret from all other parties, and breaking God knows how many laws. I mean, conspiracy to pervert the course of justice in a court of law. And the district's senior law officer. I mean, his job is to uphold the law, for fuck's sake. But he does that, and he gets found out, and he loses his job. He gets a very short stint in prison, and is disbarred from practicing law. Now you'd think, well, he's fucked, but he just moves to another state, and hey presto, a very wealthy woman, or actually she's not, I mean, she's doing okay, she's not wealthy, marries him. So he's being chased. He's trying to declare bankruptcy. He's being chased by all sorts of folks, and he's trying to declare bankruptcy. So he can't own anything while this is going on. So he marries this woman who is then by the globalists and the flunkies they control, is then given this very, very well paying job, and given this very nice house in a nice area for well below market price. And so this guy's living, other than not being able to be directly employed, he's living a lifestyle probably better than the one he had before he did those terrible things. But now he sort of operates as like a legal consultant for the Democrat Party and for the climate change goons, and that's he's a globalist stooge, this guy, and so he's still able to sort of keep himself active and involved and doing stuff. So his standard of living and quality of life is probably better than it's ever been. And but he was performing a service for the globalists. The globalists want to push this race hustle thing to crush white people, divide society, and this sort of thing. Very much a globalist play. And he was playing his part in that. He was doing his bit to crush white people and divide society and create racial conflict. He was doing what the globalists wanted him to do. He was doing it. He got caught out. And he suffered a very minor penalty at the end of the day, and but now, as I say, he's living better than I think he's ever been. So he's being well looked after, and they're very sensitive to his needs. They're making sure that he can live a high quality of life without having to worry about bankruptcy proceedings. So they're making sure all this money goes to his new wife. So that's cordoned off from any creditors that are making a chase on him. So he's being looked after, and he's doing very well. Now, he should be suffering, in my view at least. He should be going to prison for many years, and shouldn't be allowed to practice law ever again. These sorts of things. But anyway, that's him. So now going to another one. Again, the globalist flunky and stooge. The globalists are supporting one party, and the other party is very lukewarm about globalization in this particular political jurisdiction. And so the globalists want a supreme effort made, and they really want their boys to be in government. So one guy is, or maybe there were more, but this particular guy is running around registering dead people to vote. Now, there's a few electoral districts that are going to be really tight. 100 votes either way could swing it. So this guy's registering between 500 and 1,000 dead people in each electoral district. Now, there are probably other scams going on. Maybe they're scamming postal votes or something like that. But that was his gig. Anyway, he got found out, and so he did given the extent of it, he did a short time in a very low security prison, so no big deal. But pretty much the second he came out, he was given a very well-paying job that paid something like 6 or 7 times the average wage, with all sorts of other benefits thrown in. And now, not much later, he's one of the highest paid people in Australia. So there would be maybe 25,000 people in the whole country that make the sort of money he's getting paid now. Now, what sort of gifts he's got? I mean, just sort of, I've seen him interviewed and that sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe he's got some gifts of intellect and so on. He seems rather devious, and there's I suppose, an attitude of realpolitik about the guy. But should he be paid in the top 20-odd thousand of the people in the country? I don't think so. But that's where he is. So if there was any price to pay for being an ex-con, most companies won't hire you if you're an ex-con. So there's a very limited range of jobs you can do if you're an ex-con. But he got, he's unaffected by it. As I say, he's one of the best paid people in the country, and so what expertise he brings to the table to justify that is a mystery to me. But he's being handsomely rewarded for the work he did in rigging a fucking election, for Christ's sake. So there's a couple of others, but they're pretty much the same sort of story. They're just being very well looked after, and there's a guy who his job is to be a fetch and carry flunky at getting drugs and hookers for the globalist elite. So when globalist goons come into town, he's the guy that runs around getting the organising the drugs and the hookers for them. And he's sort of had so many breakdowns and been in so many drug rehab and all this sort of thing. But he guy's a fucking mess. But they keep him on the payroll and big money, well looked after, and all this sort of thing. So these are the sort of examples of people who really should be in prison or shouldn't be well paid or whatever, but they're performing a service for the globalists, and no matter what, they're getting well looked after. So there you go. And I just noticed this trend more and more, and as the globalists demand more and more from their stooges and their fetch and carry flunkies, create a racist incident. Say you were assaulted. Say you were assaulted by a MAGA hat wearing guy. Say you were raped by a MAGA hat wearing guy, and just bring 50,000 ballots in. Don't worry, just bring it in the middle of the night. These people, if they even get caught, and some of them don't, if they even get caught, the penalties are minimal. You look at the Black Lives Matter people that are if they are arrested and dragged into court, they're let go with a slap on the wrist, same as the climate change thing. So if you're performing a service for the globalists, they'll make sure that you suffer minimal penalties and you get well looked after. That's the state that we're in now in the Western world, and it's something to be worried about. You've been with Tassus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.